Why you see a reduction in coolant here is because of me swapping out my coolant hoses. I swapped out these hoses about a month and a half or month ago. Went on a nice long trip, tested it, works superb, really well. No leaks, no nothing, no confusions, no problems. These are silicone hoses from Samco Sport replica from Malaysia. So not the original British made Samco Sport, but a replica. Very good quality though, very good quality. If you guys can see the cross section, that's a nice and thick hose, and this is going to definitely keep the pressure in the coolant system. This is a very high pressure cooling system. I don't know if you guys can see, but the cap says right over there 1.4 bar, and that is more than anything else that I've seen so far. I haven't come across a 1.4 bar in any of the other motorcycles that I've owned. The max that I've seen is a 1.2. So I'm assuming that this is a very strong, highly pressurized system, and these hoses could be like this one. This one, because it's on top of the radiator, I did not bother to swap it. But these hoses are too thin and too weak looking to take on 1.4. And I want the system to be nice and intact. I don't want any kind of leaks developing anywhere, and hence I swapped out these hoses, and these hoses seem to be doing their job really well. No problem so far. Fantastic. Went on a beautiful long trip, ripped the bike. I mean, it was at 120 to 135 almost all day long. No leaks, no nothing, absolutely nothing. So yeah, the only weak link now is the coolant itself, and I'm going to be swapping that out with the best in the business, and hopefully that should be an end to my cooling system worries and confusions. First things first, open up this, let some coolant fall down, and then open up the cap so that the rest of it comes out smoothly. Then pull this out, and if you guys can see the bottom hose, it climbs up over here, comes up to the top over here. So pull that out and drain whatever is there in that onto this as well. Once I have the whole thing drained, I'll plug this back in and plug the bolt back in, go in with some distilled water into the radiator and this as well, and flush twice or thrice. Once I have clear water coming out, I'm gonna be plugging the bolt back in for like permanently, and then putting in coolant 930 milliliters on this, and to the max mark on that, and hopefully that should do it for the day. So as expected, pulled the bolt out with the copper crush washer, and almost nothing. Why is because the whole system is cold and there is enough pressure in this. So now going to be cranking this very slowly, and watch. Oops. Oh, that's some tight system. I'll have to get a plier to turn this, or let me see if I can. There you go. The moment you crank that open, that is what comes your way. So this emptied by itself, and good for me. I didn't really have to pull it out. Put back the bolt, leave the radiator open this cap, put in the right amount of, that is to the max mark, right amount of coolant, distilled water, and then do the same over here. Put back the cap. The only downside to the bloody Himalayan is this: you'll have to kind of put back the tank, and then for you to access this thing, you have to remove the tank. You can't really open the cap. The cap is super tight. You can't really open the cap with that little bit of gap that you have over here. You'll have to remove the tank for easy access and better, simply better access. And to put back the tank, start the engine, crank and everything, let's have everything running for some time, and then open up the tank again. It's a little bit of a tricky thing to do, gets to your nerves. What else can you do? You don't really have an option. So yeah, going to do the same. Fill this up, put back the tank, crank the machine, let it run for some time, and then again remove the tank, remove the bolt, drain the distilled water, repeat the process. Yeah, so the thing is, the problem with this kind of a tank mount is that you don't really have good access to the filler cap of the coolant system. And if this was a different style system, then I would have had easy access. If the cap was on the radiator, it would have been even more easy for me to just kind of do that. But because it's in an awkward position, you need to get a funnel with a longer tube. Otherwise, if you are stuck with something like this, like me, you're gonna have some improvising to do. So I have it held at that angle slightly. I haven't really shoved it into the filler cap. I just have it held at that angle. One more thing to take note is to not pour this in one go, because it's definitely going to spill. You'll have to do it in increments. Just a little bit, and then wait for the coolant to go down. Otherwise, the air in the system will pull out. So you'll have to do it a little bit, one tiny bit at a time. You'll have to wait for the coolant to go down without any air blocks. And if you could zoom in there. Yeah, you'll have to wait for all that, the radiator to gulp. It's a small throat and you can't really pour in a lot at once. You'll have to go in increments. And once that is to the brim, you can be rest assured that that's the right amount of distilled water in the system. So now that I have the coolant filled to the brim, it's not the coolant, the distilled water filled to the brim and to the max mark on the reservoir. Having put back the bolt, what I'm going to do now is just rock the bike a little to the left and right, and then put the tank back on. Just place the tank, connect the fuel pump, and crank it. Let it run for about a minute or two, or maybe a minute or 5. So letting the coolant cycle or the distilled water cycle through the system. Once it does its job of cleaning the interiors, the internals, I'll lower it. Once the machine cools down, I'll open the bolt again and have all the coolant come out. The distilled water come out. Yeah, so we'll wait for the machine to run for about 2 minutes and then wait for it to cool down, open the drain bolt. It's a cyclone in Chennai and it's starting to rain. I'll have to hurry this. So run the bike for some time, let it cool down, nice and cool, no worries. Gonna be cranking this open now. But before that, I'll have to remove the tank, just so the problem is this: very bad access to the radiator cap. If you guys can see this, I don't think you can. The radiator cap sits there, and there's absolutely no way you can access it. You'll need a funnel with a long tube to access it from over here. Even then, to open it, to close it, pain in the ass. So yeah, taking back the tank now and then cranking that bolt open. Tank off. Now to crank this fellow open, crank the nut out. There you go. Run the bolt out, put it somewhere safe, and then now to loosen this. Meanwhile, I'll have to raise the container so that I don't spill any more distilled water mixed with coolant on the floor. So yeah, there you go. Just a touch. If I had to open it fully, it's squirt out. Let me just do that and get back to you. The whole system is flushed with distilled water. It's going to be round 2 now. One more time of doing the same thing, pouring in, filling this up, plugging the bolt, putting the tank back on, let it run, circulate, drop the coolant after that, and hopefully that should be it. That should be the second time. Hopefully that should be the distilled water coming out, and then the third time I think I can go ahead with this. Yeah, so that should do it. That would be almost 3 cans. The third time. So I ran the motor twice with the distilled water, and this is the third time. Filled it in with distilled water. Left the reservoir empty. Only filled the radiator the third time. Not going to be starting the engine now. This time it's just going to be a passive cold flush. Put in the distilled water. We'll crank the bolt open now. Let all the water come out, and that should be it. Going ahead with engine ice after that. Distilled water, crystal clear, no sediments, no color from the old coolant. Job done. Flushed thrice. Putting back the bolt. I'm sorry about the lighting, fellas, but yeah, if you get the point, that would be job well done. Yep, so put back the bolt. The torque values, I mean, I haven't changed the copper washer. It's because it's a brand new motorcycle. No point in changing the copper washer now. That should be 10 to 12 Newton meters, hand tight, and a quarter of a turn. That's it. That should easily be 10 plus Newton meters. So, job done. I'll start with the reservoir, fill it to the max mark, then go to the radiator. That's the new blue coolant going in. Long time since I saw this in one of my machines. Wow, just look at that. To the max mark. We'll leave it at that. Put the cap back on, and that should do it. Well, that's about half the can that I filled. The max mark on the reservoir, almost till the top. on the lid. Yeah, that's almost hidden. So now for some squeezing business. Yeah, that should drop the level just a bit, a tad bit. Yes, it's gone down by about 3 millimeters, and we should call it quits there, right over there. I mean, I can just go down a little more, just so that the cap sits in nice and flush. But yeah, that should be it. I'll start the bike, rev it for some time, and check the levels one more time. I know from experience that that's gonna be it. That should be it. And yep, put the cap back on, and that should be the end of all my worries as far as coolants are concerned. Hopefully, if this helped, it helped. Ben signing out for now. Ciao.